Thanks. We now resume our meeting in public with consideration of agenda item 7, which is the formal consideration of the non-domestic rates levying and miscellaneous amendments Scotland Regulations 2026 SSI 2026/68. I remind those watching that this is a negative instrument and as such is laid after it is made. It's subject to annulment by resolution of the Parliament for a period of 40 days beginning on the day it's laid. We agreed to take evidence on this instrument at our meeting on the 3rd of March following written evidence received by the committee from Scottish Land and Estates and the British Association for Shooting and Conservation. We have since received further submissions from Scottish Land and Estates, and I'd like to welcome the Minister for Public Finance, Ivan McKee, along with his official Anouk Berthier, who is the head of non-domestic rates policy, and Donald Henderson, who's the Deputy Director for Nature. There's no need for you to operate your microphones. We'll do that for you. And I now invite the Minister to make a brief opening statement.
Thank you, Convener, and I'm pleased to join the committee today to assist in member scrutiny of the non-domestic rates levying and miscellaneous amendments Scotland Regulations 2026. This instrument provides for a range of non-domestic measures in 2026-27, which were introduced in the budget, including the setting of the supplements on top of the basic property rates, which create intermediate and higher property rates, applying to properties with rateable value over £51,000 and £100,000 respectively, the continuation of the Small Business Bonus Scheme and Fresh Start reliefs, and the introduction of the new 10-year electric vehicle charging point relief. From 1st of April 2026, shootings and deer forests will be excluded from eligibility from Small Business Bonus Scheme relief and Fresh Start relief, subject to some exemptions. And I met with the Non-Domestic Rates Consultative Group immediately after both the UK and Scottish budgets to hear their views and suggestions, and in developing these regulations, careful consideration was given to any concerns raised by businesses, including the rural sector, on the risks of unintended consequences. And I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thanks very much. Do any members wish to ask any questions? Megan.
Thank you very much, Convener. Good morning, Minister. Can I ask the Minister how has government arrived at the conclusions they did, particularly when you're talking about the sorry, my mind's went blank. Particularly when you're talking about this piece of legislation, but why they didn't consult rural businesses on the impact of this SSI?
Well, it's not normal to consult when we're making changes on small business bonus relief, and that hasn't happened in the past. We, of course, listen to go through a formal consultation process. That is, we of course engage closely with sector representatives of the sector on an ongoing basis. And as already mentioned, I work with the NDR Consultative Group that's got a range of businesses on it to take a sense from them of their thoughts on NDR matters. And as I say, government is engaged on an ongoing basis with businesses in the rural sector, and of course we've done so following the initial budget announcement, and of course made some changes as a consequence of that.
Okay, so you've raised that you've not consulted the rural sector on this, but hundreds of rural small businesses have warned that losing the small business bonus scheme relief will increase their fixed costs to the extent that they are considering making redundancies. But there's other impacts, including loss of revenue, loss of productivity, but also it could act as a deterrent to future investment in the rural sector. What is your response to those businesses who are going to lose out on this scheme?
Well, I said there's a wide range of exemptions that are included in the measure, which for the most part would exclude many of those businesses you're talking about, and we've been quite clear on what those exemptions are. And as I say, clearly it's for individual businesses depending on the nature of their businesses, but the exemptions are designed to exclude businesses that meet those requirements.
So on this point specifically, you'll be aware that there is a broad range of activities that take place on shootings and deer forests, and in many cases that doesn't include sports, that doesn't feature within those types of activities. So how do you reconcile with what is being proposed here and what I certainly understand to be the policy intention that's been brought forward, because those are the businesses that will not qualify as part of these schemes?
Well, it's the businesses that meet the exemptions, of course, will qualify, and I believe that the regulations are clear And the non-statutory guidance on relief regulations that we'll publish, as we normally do in April, will further clarify that. But as I say, I think that we've been clear, the regulations are clear, and the guidance will also be clear in terms of what is included and what is exempt.
And finally, shootings and deer forests cannot be separated from land on which they refer to. Can the Minister clarify what is meant by 35DI and 45DI? And I'll just quote it: shootings which are crofts, agricultural land holdings or small land holdings. And does he share the view of others that this is further clarification of definitions that need to be fully looked into and what actually is required?
Well, I think all of those definitions are clear. Shootings are clearly specified on the NDR role. Crofts are specified already, and are listed as what is and isn't a croft. And agricultural land holdings, it's clearly long-established principle that they don't pay NDR in any event. So I think we believe that the regulations are clear, and the statutory guidance, as I said, the non-statutory guidance, as I said, on the regulations that we'll publish will further clarify that, and we're very happy to engage with anyone that thinks that there's more that needs to be clarified in the guidance to make that crystal clear.
I'm sure the small businesses will welcome that opportunity, Minister, because I do believe that there will be unintended consequences here. But thank you very much. Thank you, Kavina.
Thanks very much, Megan. Actually, Megan's line of questioning is inspired with my rural affairs hat on. So just to kind of get into a bit more story rather than NDR, but so there is quite a lot of work being done in terms of deer number reduction across Scotland, and we're going to be looking at a 4-year period where that really needs to happen. And what we're trying to do with some of that is move venison into schools and public kitchens and things like that. But those that are working in venison larders and in that space operate in a very, very tight margin. So is it clear that that's certainly a representation I've had from people in that space? Is it clear that they will be able to apply for the exemptions?
Yeah, as I said, crofts are exempt.
It's not a croft, though.
Yeah, I'll just work my way through
Okay.
it. They're exempt. Agricultural land holdings are exempt. Small land holdings are exempt, and the range of uses, including the use of for consumption, is exempt as well.
Okay, so just to give you a scenario, so somebody who's operating a venison larder, they actually rent land, they kind of rent the shooting rights from an estate. They do that work to bring the deer numbers down, they put the meat into a venison larder, and they will have maybe one shooting a year to cover the cost of the rent. Will they be able to go for the exemptions?
I'll ask officials to comment on the specific of that scenario, but the exemptions include those who are using the product for consumption.
For consumption, okay, so that's their kind of place that they need to look at for exemptions.
I'm happy to clarify a bit further. I mean, the Minister is correct. Where the shooting right is exercised solely for the purpose of environmental management or for preventing damage to woodland or agricultural production, or a combination of these purposes, and where any deer shot is made available for human consumption as venison, they will remain eligible for SPBS relief. It is, of course, for local authorities to administer rates, including relief awards, and they will be the ones determining who remains and does not remain eligible for SPBS relief.
Okay, great. That's the detail that I think people want to hear, so thank you very much for that. Does anyone else have any questions? No. Okay. Well, so thanks so much for that. Is the committee agreed that we do not wish to make any recommendations in relation to this instrument? We're agreed. Thank you. The committee will now move into private again to complete its considerations of the private items on the agenda. And so that is the end of the public part of the meeting.